There we go. All right, before we get started on review, I got one thing I gotta do, and it's, hey, we gotta do it. What day is it today? Friday. Yeah. Wow, that was a good one. That was a really good one. Yeah. You don't want to be the first person to quit clapping. I will remember. The flamingo will remember. Yes.
This was way better than the
Oh, yeah. That was pretty lame.
I didn't feel satisfied.
It was lame. This is so much better. Yeah.
Double.
By the way, have you guys noticed the rug?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really ties the room together, doesn't it? It really ties it together.
I love it.
Look at the rat. Glowing majestically. Should we give something for the rat? Yeah. Give something. Give something. Let's not go nuts. You know, polite opera applause. Okay. Okay. Have you seen Garfield?
Yeah. Yeah. Garfield. I love it. Hey, Garfield. It's my team.
That's so big. Dude, you
Don't make fun of Garfield. He's sitting right there.
He's sitting in the weekends. What?
Okay, now we're getting too deep. Let's get to the test. Everyone take out your notes for the stuff you jot down for this. I'll go through the kind of things I'm going to be looking for the test. Give me a second. I'm kind of going back and forth between my test copy and this, so you just have to kind of. So the first one, remember, was Katrina, right? Hurricane Katrina was the first one. And we did things. What city was hit? Well, what city was the one that New Orleans was the big, and it was more the flooding. Who was president when that happened? George W. Bush, not H.W. Bush. And trying to see if there's anything else. Oh, and the last one. Okay, these are. I'll pick two of these. But the other one was many believe it's a conspiracy to get rid of what population. Yeah, basically the poor black population to get them out and replace. And it's all gentrification. Plain to say the word gentrification, but basically to make it much more higher, to rebuild and make the real estate values. That's not necessarily good. That's not necessarily bad. But if you don't have much money and the rents go up dramatically, I think we see the issue. So that's Katrina. The next we had Yellowstone. And the thing is that where are we at here? Who is hiding it? The chance of a Yellowstone eruption? The government. That's so great. Just the vague. You can just say them. And one of the reasons they give for it happening, but is it's what? It hasn't happened for a long time, so it's what? It's overdue, right? That's science. Yeah, it's got to happen. But also, it can be a great what? We got to start over. For me, called it like a big reset button, which made me laugh. That whole idea of a reset button. So they're hiding this. Now let's be clear. And so those are three examples we could get. And then we have, obviously we pick more. Oh, what is the idea? This also fits in with the reason why people believe in conspiracy, where a lot of people agree with you. Oh no, this is. A lot of people agree with you, or I'm sorry, you have a certain point of view and you hear something that agrees with your point of view. What do we call that? Well, it's not an echo chamber, but it's also confirmation bias. Yeah, basically the same thing. But that's actually a real problem. That's actually a real problem today, because now you can like watch whatever news, let's say, you want and be very narrowly focused on what you agree with. You hear the same thing over and over again. And if you don't know beyond that, you can come to believe some interesting things. Moving on, the October surprise. Am I filming this? Is it recording? Have you guys seen the rat? It's recording in process. Have you seen the picture? Santa Ana losing his leg. All right.
You should have been.
It was the election of 1980. The October surprise was about what big issue was going on? The Iranian hostage crisis. And the hostages might be released. What presidential nominee was this thought to help? Reagan. Yep, Ronald Reagan. And what was the big controversy in Reagan's campaign? Where he actually, or Reagan's presidency, where they helped Iran and seemed to confirm to many there must have been some kind of deal. The biggest scandal that Reagan never got in trouble for. They gave, someone said, yeah, close. They sold weapons to Iran illegally. They were fighting Iraq at that time. And then they gave the weapons to people who were trying to get to overthrow the government in Nicaragua. It's called Iran Contra, that's it. Iran Contra. So those are three. MK Ultra. What's MK Ultra? Who did MK Ultra? What government agency? Huh? Roland, yes. Yeah. Sydney, yep. What? Who was it? The spy organization created in 1947. CIA. And who would try to buy? Oh no, fine. Who would buy up almost all the LSD for the CIA? Yeah, Sydney, which went by the name Gottlieb at that time. She changed her name. And let me see. Oh, one more I thought was what was the committee? This is the third one. The committee. Who? Yeah, the church. Remember I told you guys the story about me at the church when he's running for president and his Secret Service agent assaulted me. I still have PTSD from no. All right, those are three. Then we get to another one. Oh, 5G. Yeah. So 5G, we know 5G is somehow transmitting, recording us. Who's the person behind it all? According to conspiracy theories. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got Bill Gates and it also, so we have 5G is tracking us. Bill Gates did it. And how are they able to implant the tracking devices in our body? Vaccines. Okay, good. Now, Los Angeles. What was the really amazing mass transit rail system that Los Angeles had? They got rid of it. The Red Bar. And what was the company that helped get rid of it? So people had to buy cars and buses? General Motors, yep. And let me see. Oh, and then that would be it. To replace General Motors and to replace with cars and buses. So we have to buy cars and buses and also use a lot of gas. I should add, have you ever heard of smog? So Los Angeles is very unique. I mean, pollution is really bad. Oh, it's what's happening right now in India, in Delhi. They're basically saying people can't go out. Right? The air is so bad because of pollution, people can't leave their homes. And even then, they're getting sick. And if you have any kind of respiratory problem, it can kill you. And that's horrific. Los Angeles, because of all the cars, would be covered with smoke. They call it smog. Because of the way air from the sea would come in. And it would push that smog down to kind of be like an inversion and just hold it there. So you have this smog, you breathe it in, it's just nightmarish. If little kids born to that, with the chance of asthma would be skyrocketing. I mean, you couldn't see 10 feet in front of you. If you go to LA today, is there smog? No, gone. Why? Environmental Protection Agency. What did they ban? A number of things to reduce pollutants in cars, but the big one is you ever heard of the catalytic converter? Mm-hmm. The catalytic converter we added to cars and that would filter significantly. I mean, there's still issues, but smog within 15 years was gone. I'm not saying there still could be an inversion a little bit, but it's so much better. But that smog you can see directly related to the red line in Observation's presentation. Oh, I should add. leaded gasoline clogged up the catalytic converter. That's why they started getting rid of that leaded gasoline. I'll tell you more about leaded gasoline crime down the road. But let's just put it this way. I consumed, because of leaded gasoline, probably 20 times more lead than you guys did when I was a little kid. Because that much more was in the air because of leaded gasoline. And leaded gasoline can cause severe mental disorder. One of the big ones is it could lead to either not being able to tell right or wrong, or can make you exceedingly violent.
Oh, wait, I don't like how you said.
Anybody want to guess what happened to rates of violent crime? It's lead. Huh? Once lead started being taken out of gasoline, what happened to rates of violent crime all over the world? You start taking out of gas. There's less lead, violent crime is so much less murder. So the murder rate is so much lower today than it was when I was your age. It's not even fun. I don't know if you guys did. We were tough. That to be very true. I'll come back to that. I'll tell you more stories about that. Let's get to the next one. Bohemian Grove. So Bohemian Grove, it was a club. What kind of people would meet there? Yeah, rich, mostly white men. Yeah, they would meet, and let's see, where do we have it? Meet. Who was the very controversial reporter?
Oh, Alex.
Alex Jones, who would try to infiltrate that. He would lose almost all his fortune because he would try to say that the murder in Sandy Hook, killing over 20 students, was a government plot. And he would be sued and eventually have to give up about $250 million that he did not have. He's still out there. And and last one I just put out there for the secret society, old men to do what? People believe they might be doing what? Huh? Well, besides being the reptiles. Oh, they might be sacrificed.
Cremation of Penrith.
New world order, yeah, taking over the world. And what's the sacred creature?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So those are some of the examples I would use. Sound good? Next one, life on Mars. So, what was the picture of the Viking spacecraft? It took a picture of a mountain, and what did it look like, this mountain?
Face.
A face. And that was the first thing that triggered, and then we got all the other ones that you pointed out, which I thought were great. But the face was the one that triggered. And the face, the idea is basically that this goes back to the age-old, well, not the age-old, the 100-year-old idea that there's life on Mars. And what did the first telescope see?
It saw channels, which was mistranslated to canal.
Canals, yeah. And so what's the conspiracy that the government's trying to hide this and stuff? Sound good? Great, and all good. And yes, obviously David Bowie. And speaking of dead, which Beatle died? Paul McCartney is clearly dead. And you know, he's playing, Billy Shears is playing tonight in, look, I just saw him. He sends me
Paul.
Billy
Yeah, Paul McCartney sends me.
Oh, no.
You mean his dog,
Yeah, Billy Shears sends me text messages all the time. And look.
Billy Shears with like post.
Yeah. From Paul McCartney. He sent me after the Beatles broke up, I had a choice to carry on music or try something different. I get Paul McCartney. Okay, trying to sell me stuff. But anyways, moving on. Maybe I think they're directly from Billy Shears. So I think he was just in Pittsburgh, not in Canada. But yeah. I saw Billy Shears in Denver just a few weeks ago. He died. Who was the DJ who made it public? DJ in Detroit. Huh? Say it louder.
The radio.
No, Rita, that was part of the who killed her. Russ Gibb. Russ Gibb was the DJ who got that information and put it out there. And that, it really wasn't so much, Tim Harper did it at Drake University, a little article. No one read it. It was a student newspaper. Not that it wasn't well done back then when they used to have newspapers. But it was just, just a little article, just kind of putting stuff out there, but Gibb did it on a popular radio show. It spread like wildfire. Because somebody called and told him and he ran with it. That's why? Get people to listen. And it was a massive plot. So there's a bunch of different things. So first off, I kept mentioning Billy Shears, because that would be a good one. Originally William Campbell, but then eventually they started saying Billy Shears, because Billy Shears was from the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And when they would go, they would start with Sgt. Pepper's and then go to a song called A Little Help My Friend, and now Billy Shears. Then Ringo Starr would sing that song. But what album had the four members, in fact, their last studio album, not the last to be released, but the last they recorded, Walking Across the Road. What album was that? Abbey Road. And that's the album. So we got Billy Shears, Abbey Road. There's a lot of other things. I'm so tired. She did mention there's a song that they did called I Am the Walrus, or in Glass Onion, they said the walrus was Paul. And math during a meeting. That had nothing to do with what we're meeting about. I was doing numbers in my head, then I checked myself. I was right. Yes. Got a math. Huh? Because I was good at math.
But now he's just as.
I have a history degree, a math degree, a social studies graduate degree, and an education. And a minor in political science and minor in economics. I took a lot of classes. I like college. Moving on. But I got to be honest with you. Not that college was cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than what it is. I have more opportunities. I'm sorry. That makes me sad. I have more opportunities. Because it was a lot cheaper. Not that we have money. Huh?
Yeah, you did Roman.
Well, Actually, I went to Rocky Mountain College. Private schools gave me a scholarship for living within 150 miles of the buildings. Then I got other scholarships. But- Yeah, it was called the Yellowstone Scholarship. I can't remember how much it was, but it was so funny because I lived 150 miles from buildings. I get a scholarship. Why not? I mean, of course I checked the box. Okay, where was it? Hitler's alive. That'd be another good one.
Yeah.
Somebody walking down the hall,
Santa walks by.
and you guys are all laughing that Hitler's alive. All right. So the idea was Hitler faked his own death, and so I asked a few questions. It was on April 30th, but what city were the Soviets taking that he committed suicide as the Soviets were injured? Should be easy. Think Germany.
Berlin.
Yes, obviously Bremen. Berlin, it's Berlin. Bremen's another city. And who was the Soviet general who first kind of hinted the fact the great hero, Field Marshal who? Gregory begins with a C. Zhukov. That Stalin maybe spirited the body away? No, he'd never. No. Hitler went on his own. He just walked up, shaved the mustache. We have photos. Those pictures were hilarious. The one with the glasses painted on. And what country did he supposedly go to? Argentina, yeah. Which is actually, there's elements of truth. There were a bunch of former Nazis and fascists from Italy too, went there. And Chile had a Nazi cult. And so who did Pinochet again? Who did Pinochet in Chile? Yeah, that did that. There was a Nazi cult there that they sent people to go be tortured by these former Nazis. And Pinochet did after Allende was assassinated. So it's just kind of amazing how there's elements of truth there. Hitler's quite old now. Oh, it's quite old. Hitler. But they do have, the Soviets did burn the body. They did find the jawbone, a little piece of the forehead. And you could look at it if you want, but it was him. He's the one who.
Yeah.
Okay. Holocaust denial. So basically, what kind of people made it up? Who were the people that made it up? We should tie very closely to. Yeah, Soviets, communists, yeah. So these are are they right or left wing? Yeah, very far right, very conservative. And they said there was no gas chambers. Basically, was like there were people killed, but not the mass, despite overwhelming evidence. Which of course shows you how careful they were. Hey, most people don't know. Remember all conspiracy words that they know little elements of truth. And then, but it also, it's not just these far rights, but also this hides what? Intense prejudice, anti-what? Anti-Semitism. Those are three. And I love the one where it said, who was the guy? Yeah, David Irving. And he said that Hitler was against them. I mean,
But-
come.
But he didn't know about it, but if he did know about it, he was against it and he had to have helped Jewish.
Of course.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know if people really believe that, or they just want to have some way to be anti. To give, okay, there has to be something, people look for an excuse to justify what they're doing today, so they go in the past. And the thing was, a lot of people just don't know what happened. And that makes it easy. They know little bits. And I hear I had somebody actually tell me there would have been no Holocaust if everybody would have had the right to have personal weapons. And I'm like, what? The German army had conquered these areas. You're trying to tell me a few people with hunting rifles are going to stop the German army that nearly defeated the Soviet army? What?
What?
Of course, there are the people who think that the Holocaust only happened in Germany. So, all right, now we have Chile. The Chilean coup. Who was the American president? Yeah, Richard Nixon, of course. All roads lead to Nixon. And who was the socialist president of Chile who was overthrown? Yeah, Salvador Allende. I want to say Allende, even though I know it's not, I can't help it. I'm an English speaker. So in my head, it's Allende, but it's Allende. That's pretty close. That's closer. Double L is either silent or kind of almost like a Y. But I want to say Allende. I just can't help it.
The American.
That was me the entire presentation.
Yeah, make yourself, if you learn, and I first heard the name from English speakers as Allende. So it's in my head that way. And I really try, because I want to learn a little bit. I'm learning a little bit of Spanish just so, to get by, because I really like Mexico. Huh? Say it again. We might have to talk about this. I might need it. All right. And then we have, who was the dictator who took over? I said it once before.
Oh, Pinochet.
Yeah, Pinochet. And they still have a problem. Some of the constitution is still Pinochet's constitution. And Chile is still suffering under that. It's a real issue. I've never been to Santiago. My brother has for a conference. And he says Santiago, Chile is amazing. And the mountains are right there. I guess it is just beautiful. He was at a conference, one of those things where he only had one day to really see it, but I guess it's amazing. Hint? Hint? Should we do it? After gambling, we raise a little money. We're filming this. Next, Tuskegee. And what was, let me find it real fast. Okay, what was the disease? Syphilis. What kind of people did the US government lie to? All black men. And, what was he placed in? The institute where they did it? We already said it. I said it already. Tuskegee. So we got 3. We could do more, but that's kind of a tough one. That was a tough one to pick too many about. But this really gave a lot of. Last one. Last one I could ask. Who was the president who finally would formally sign an executive order to recognize it? Yeah, Bill Clinton. Which is a long time, isn't it? Yeah, so this is just cool. Anybody know a monarch who died of syphilis? Who? Henry VIII. Henry VIII almost certainly died of syphilis. Syphilis came from the New World to the Old World. The only disease that came from the New World to the Old World, all the other diseases came from the Old World to the New. Most of you know that story. And also, yeah, that would destroy 95% of the population of the Americans. Diseases from Europe. But syphilis went back. Anybody know what famous gangster would die of syphilis? Scarface. Oh, no. Roswell. We all know. First off, who knows it's true? Brendan, say yourself. That's all.
She had
Put
access
that.
to the
Who
document.
knows it's true?
Brenda Stacy's cat.
Okay, Roswell, where do we at? Let me find it. I lost it. Done, over. Can't find it. Where's Roswell? Did I forget to type that in? Maybe it was the reanimated body of Adolf Hitler.
What? It's obviously. Yes.
He's obviously leading the rebel. No.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I typed it in. I'm gonna have to add, thank goodness I looked. I don't even thought I typed that in. Am I just missing it? Oh, well, I'll make sure I get it. So the things I'm gonna ask first off, at Roswell supposedly. Wait a second. I know I typed this and I remember typing in Jesse Marcel. Who was the communications officer? Jesse Marcel, yeah. And remember I told you his son spoke to my class almost 20 years ago. I wish I was one that I would have been recording classes. That would have been really cool. He believed it 100%. You know, he was a little kid. That's what he remembers. It was really interesting. That was cool. And so Jesse Marcel, it happened then. And what was Project Mogul? Huh? Yeah, balloons. And they were supposed to go high up into the atmosphere to pick up what? And it'd be one of those balloons that would pick up the first Soviet test in 1949. So this was top secret. This was top secret. And so they hit that and oh, let's see. Oh, what was it? When they found it, they found this weird stuff that if they
Oh, it was tin.
like tin foil, and they would, if you crumpled it up, what happened? Yeah, so that'd be, so operate, that's what the Air Force said. And there was something else that happened. Did you mention I can't remember that. You didn't mention the dummies.
No, but I did see, like, saw stuff about it.
The other thing was this, I'll just tell you really quick. They had so they were trying to get higher and higher altitude planes, basically to try to get out of range of Soviet air defenses. And so by the early 1950s, they're going 70, 80,000 feet, eventually over 100,000 feet by plane. So that's basically out of the atmosphere. I mean, you can see the curvature of the earth. You can see the atmosphere from that high. You're in darkness. So you're just about out. But they were really worried, what's going to happen to the human body if you try to eject? So they started making dummies and they would send them up on balloons that would go up to 90,000 feet. And then they would drop these dummies to see what would happen to them. They put a bunch of just weird, creepy looking dummies, you know, like gray faces, about human size, to see what would happen when they landed. And a couple years later, they did that near Roswell. And a couple people saw the dummies. So you can see what happened. They tied the first story to the second story, implying what did they find at Roswell? Alien bodies. And does anybody know the place in Nevada? The secret airbase where they were testing Area 51. And what were they doing at Area 51? They were actually testing testing experimental airplanes. One that was literally called the Flying Pancake that looked like a saucer. I'm not making that up. So what did people start thinking? They're taking alien technology, and which is true, right? And re-engineering them.
on the gravity molecules. Gravity.
I forgot about that. Yeah, gravity in molecules. I gotta write that down. Gravity in molecules. Because we didn't have gravity in the molecules, we just fly off into space. That's science.
Science.
And if any one of your science teachers upstairs say anything, you let them have it, right? And you say, Mr. Larson told me. He said, or maybe Mr. Mihalich.
Yeah.
Oh, this one, Mr. Mihalich. Okay. Next. So we got Roswell, just cut more. Okay, Princess Di. And how about this one? Who was her boyfriend? Who was her boyfriend? Who was Princess Di's boyfriend who also died in the car crash? Yeah, Dodi Fayed. And what religion was it? He was Muslim. And that was the big thing. That's what conspiracy theorists believe. Now, of course, it doesn't make a lot of sense because how would they be heir to the throne? But we don't care. This is a conspiracy. He wouldn't be heir to the throne. She already had sons who were heir to the throne. And if Prince Charles, if Prince Charles becomes King Charles like he is now and has more sons, then they become heirs. Doesn't matter what Prince Diana had. But anyways, back to this. Anne, who was chasing the car, paparazzi, and the driver. What about him? That seemed to throw the conspiracy theory out. Why he might have gotten a wreck. He was incredibly drunk, even though there's been a story that he was drunk beyond consciousness. Okay, next. I could have put Operation Paget, but I just put 3. CIA murder. So we've got CIA, and what do we have here? Just give me a sec. What was the plan, the nickname for the huge operation that was more, even though Aurora mentioned the poison diving suit, to kill Castro? What was that called? Operation Mongoose. There are so many other things, including exploding cigars. I mean, it's amazing. Did it work? No, but please Castro to be more totalitarian and closer to the Soviet Union. Did the exact opposite of what they wanted. And what is the theory that many people believe that there was more than one person who killed John Kennedy, and therefore the CIA was involved? What was the name? It involved the fact that both Kennedy and Governor Connally were hit. What do conspiracy theorists call that? The magic bullet. Which, by the way, if we do the Kennedy assassination, I show you, we talk about the single bullet. We go through it. It's an interesting story. And let's see, we have magic bullet. We could do more. We'll do one. The other one I might ask, another good one, would be some conspiracy theorists think the CIA assassin was actually what? What was he doing during the Kennedy assassination? He had a job. The driver. And if you look at the film, Aurora mentioned the film, it's called the Zapruder film. It's and I have a very good version. It's been cleaned up now because so you can see it. Some people believe that you could actually see the driver turn around and fire. You have to let that. It's best to see it if you shut your eyes. But next, Phantom Time. Who was the guy who did Phantom Time? Came up with the theory. He's a German. My dad would say he was so proud. My dad actually really liked. My dad was stationed in Germany. He was told that the Soviets were getting the Americans. He was told by a German. That was back when they were told, "Don't go out alone." There's still people are Nazis. Herbert Illich. Does that sound familiar? Herbert Illich. And so it said those days are gone. And who was the emperor? The very famous Holy Roman Emperor German emperor, who helped lead or join with the Pope to say we want to have basically closer to the millennium. Who? Otto III. Yep, Otto. And lastly, another good one. There's a lot of great ones with this. Oh, I could have this one. What was the calendar? What was the calendar? The Julian calendar was thrown out and they made a new calendar. Because remember, the Julian calendar didn't have a leap year. And so it was behind. It was a Pope. Pope Gregory or Gregory. He didn't do it, but he signed off. Basically, they had to figure out when Easter was. That was, if you don't know when Easter was, you can't be a Christian. I mean, that was really a crisis in the 16th century. Oh, last thing. Who's the most important emperor that was all made up and didn't really exist? The most important Germanic empire of the Frankish kingdom. The most important emperor, he reigned late 700s into 800s. Charlemagne, Charles the Great, the most important of the early Western monarchs after the Roman Empire fell. I think that's it, right? We got everybody? We good? Want to do a quiz? Okay. I have not done this either. So we're all going to be new at this. Here we go. Oh, what's the best heist movie? No, it's bad movie. Bad movie. Bad movie. Bad movie. Good movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Huh?
That's a good movie.
That's Sam Neill.
Oh.
Here we go. We're starting the quiz. Who do we know these famous criminals?
Oh.
Did somebody throw something?
Huh?
It did. I just on the floor. I have to pick up the whole floor. Who is that famous criminal? O.J. Simpson, Charles Manson, or the infamous Chester Turner? Who wants Manson? Yay! Kristen Gilbert, Ted Bundy, Carol Cole. One of the most infamous serial killers. In fact, I can still vividly remember this because he did a number of his murders in Utah. And when I was a little kid, we would get the Utah television stations.
I know you.
Ted Bundy.
Oh, I wonder.
Oh.
Donald Harvey, Charles Manson, Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Oh, I Kaczynski for sure.
Ted Kaczynski, Frank James, or Al Capone. What did he die of? Yay!
Oh, Billy.
Hoodoo Brown, Al Capone, Billy the Kid. Felix Yusupov, serial killer from the Soviet Union, under the Gulf Sea, or Lee Harvey Oswald.
What is that?
Who is it? I'm guessing. But there's a connection. Lee Harvey Oswald tried to defect to the Soviet Union. He was a committed communist, tried to defect. He didn't like it. They didn't let him defect. They thought he was crazy.
No way.
Yeah, they could figure it out after like 20 minutes.
But then he told himself.
And so he actually went back to his hotel and tried to commit suicide. He tried to slit his wrist. I don't know if he really meant to, because he did it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But they found this bloody mess and they let him stay. True story.
They felt like they would look back. So Richard Ramirez, his. Yeah.
Richard Ramirez, Ponderosa, William Stuff.
Ramirez is.
Yeah. We'll talk. Who is this famous? Which, by the way, if we do 20 gangsters, which is one of my favorite units, that's one of them. Who's that? Who thinks it's Angelo Bruno? Who thinks Angelo Bruno? Who thinks it's Joseph Colombo? How about John Gotti? Yeah, let's stop. Jesse James, Lee Harvey Oswald, Sirhan Sirhan, the man who murdered Robert Kennedy, who was a Manchurian candidate. That's what people have referred to Sirhan Sirhan, thinking that he had been brainwashed by MK Ultra. Thus a Manchurian candidate. Remember Manchurian candidate doesn't know that they have been programmed. That's the thing. The perfect assassin, right? Who's that? Anyone know?
Those glasses.
I might do this. I might do H.H. Holmes. Yeah, the murder castle. The first publicly known what we would call serial killer would be H.H. Holmes. It happened before, but H.H. Holmes. But this is, of course. We do this, and we do gangsters.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde. That's Clyde Barrow. That's Bonnie. That's Clyde. Bob Barker, another famous 30s gangster. Bugsy Siegel, Benjamin Siegel. He's one of the first gangsters who he started this place called the Flamingo. That was in Las Vegas. He's a former guard at Auschwitz. Remember I told you about in Cambodia, after the bombing, and the leader of that horrible regime that did the genocide in Cambodia was named Pol Pot. Oh, there's a lot in here. That's kind of cool. That's Lucky. Lucky Lucian. Yeah. John Hinckley, who did he try to murder? President Reagan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
me too.
Wasn't it for like someone like?
Because he thought the actress Jodie Foster would fall involved with him. And they're still married today. Next, who's that? Dillinger. Pablo Escobar. John Wayne Gacy, Saran, John Gotti. That's Gacy, yeah. Levi Bellfield, Willie Sutton, or Whitey Bulger. The most famous gangster from Boston, who also was on the loose, a wanted man for 30 years on the most wanted list. And they did experiments with MK Ultra, Whitey Bulger. Bitch of Buchenwald. She was an SS guard at Buchenwald concentration camp. I don't know who this is. I'm pretty sure. Oh, it's Castellano. So Castellano, yeah. I read the name, but I didn't know him, which I should have known because we could forget those glasses. He could see right through us. He's at this place in the Bavarian Alps called Birch's Garden, which was the home, Adolf Hitler's second home. Martin Bourne. Machine Gun Kelly, Emma Walsh, or Adolf. Doctor at Auschwitz. I'm not 100% sure what that is.
He looks like an
I'm
animal.
guessing.
Yeah.
Yes, raise your hand.
Yeah.
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 Oh, okay. I know the name. I've never seen his face. I mean, I just can't remember seeing his face. The spots, William J. Tweed of New York. He's a political boss.
Yeah.
That's actually a very good movie. It's rated R. If you watch it, you get parental permission. All right, everyone hear me say that? It's a very good movie, but yeah, she was a serial killer and she'd been horribly abused and became a sex worker and killed some clients. Somebody did it last year.
Yeah, someone did, but I don't think anyone's doing it.
Want to do one more?
Yes.
It's Bashir. That's Sudan. When the big mass murders and part of the Civil War.
Pretty boy foot, top of your face, Nelson.
Yeah, we know it's not those two. Yeah, one of the more famous bank robbers. That's A.J. Chalmers. The Murder Castle will blow you away. We watched a little video about that too. Yeah, it was really good. About 15-minute video. That's what I'll do on my own. Some of you might know a little bit about A.J. Chalmers. That's not, we won't be eating. I picked one that's a little bit. Want to do the last one? See what it is? I'm not sure.
James.
What James? I know Cherokee Bill is. All right, on that note,
Kathy.
that's Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Monday. Okay, we'll see you.
It's too light. I'm just.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Yeah. For identifying famous criminals. We're doing a crime in special. It's a fun. We did conspiracy theories. We'll do a little more serious one the next one, but then, you know, kind of. Pick back. Well done. You got it. Off the wall. I'll play. Ready? Ready? You are ready. You said, I am ready.
Always like the brown black. Yeah, try to sit on it.
I was trying to sneak around.
That's simple.
Have a great weekend.
But why was it so? It was like, so they're always going, it was like. No, it was, I feel so, I'm like, it's music.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I don't like this blue. It's one.
You were ready. You said, I'm ready.
Like.
Oh.
Hey, guy, who's playing those?
Music sounds so good on these speakers. It's wonderful.
I heard myself. Jack just told me he met Tommy Justice.
No way. Matt Thomas.
Yeah, don't you send him your response?
Huh?
When you send him your response?
So Jack met Thomas Jefferson.
Yes. Yeah, fine.
Jack, you got a lot of people who've been dead a long time. You have conversations with them.
It's part of where he's from, you know?
Huh?
It's good, it's about where he's from. And he's just,
Found one.
yeah.
He's from there.
Yeah, I mean, Frisbee.
I need a new frisbee.
Lady in Forks.
Just a second, I forgot to take roll last period.
Number 5. Oh, yeah, James Haverty.
How did you get that wrong?
Come on.
How did you not know that was Frank King?
I know, and the thing was, I was gonna, I don't know how I picked her.
Normally you do great on the test. It's no hard to it.
I don't know how I did that.
Problem was you didn't write this one.
No, he probably did. James Earl Red.
That one, yeah.
No.
Yes.
That one. Johnny Paul. Roman.
I don't think this is just my.
This is John Wilkes.
I think it's Tom.
I think it's Chroma.
John was, I don't think it's John was.
The Dodgers have got 80 million fans, but I didn't know they had such a high detail picture of John.
Yeah, but that day,
No, they got.
they painted the black and white photo.
He is. They sold him those for Japan. That's how they did it. Because they told him
They cleared out the Dodgers scared, so
they sold him to Japan.
Yeah.
He plays for the Saints.
Foregone.
Japan.
I think so.
I think it's changed dramatically.
I didn't see that.
There's a little, yeah, it looks baby like Negan.
They got like.
They still have striping.
No, they don't let anyone to match it. Yes, they did. I said, "Depend your next." Okay.
Okay. Japan.
Yeah, 6 students died, but.
I don't really play.
Like I said, we're gonna do a bingo next week. Aaron Judge said it was nuts. Judge stuff. Yeah.
Very strong.
What about yours? Yeah.
It's a good. All right, here we go. Yes, we did the identify criminals and special topics.
How many MVPs this year?
Does anyone know what that is?
Chester Turner.
One of the most famous serial killers in American history.
Ted
You know?
Bundy.
Words?
Boom. Osama bin Laden.
Yeah. Who's that?
Al Capone.
All right, we got, nope, one more pick it. Let's not be the phone.
Well, because you need to.
Oh, you got a hand. Typical.
I think it's still.
Here we go. All right. Okay, where do we finish it? 110, all four of my AP units responses are at a different schedule. What's that? Needs annexation. Who is the president of Texas? Sam Houston. And what did they call the 1840 campaign based upon image? What was the name they would give it? Cultural. Well, it was Culture Wars. What was the name of the campaign? It was named after, the log cabin or something. Say it, log cabin campaign.
Sorry.
And did someone go blue because of that? Did you get it? Put +8 on your nose, right on top. I'm gonna give you 80. I'll give you 80 on those notes. Yeah. In your math class. Who's your math teacher? Huh? Yeah, just say.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I get 80 points. Better test. Not a big deal. Any questions, just say Mr. Maheller said at school. All right, so, I pass, I try to help other people out. Also, I gave you 2 ways that the Whigs try to cleave off Democratic voters. And they had 2 strategies. And one we already mentioned, those were like culture, use cultural issues. What was the other one? They blamed somebody for all the problems. What kind of people?
Immigrants.
Immigrants, meaning so natives. Immigrants are at the fault for all the problems. Who was the Democratic president who lost for re-election in 1840? Van Buren. And what was the great slogan that Harrison had?
Tyler too.
Hippie Canoe and Tyler too. Great slogan. We'll get to another slogan. So we got to Al Capone. So the thing was, let's get back to, he was about 18 years old and he was working at a brothel. And he was attacked. Basically trying to run someone out and he pulled a knife out and slashed his face. Right? Like this. Thus, anybody want to guess his nickname?
Scarface.
And he hated that nickname. Hated it. What would he die of? Anyone know? Syphilis. See, you're learning all kinds of stuff in here. Anybody want more kind of random stuff off the top of my head?
Yes,
So we got all this right. Is that where we're, does that look right?
that's perfect.
Yeah, so Texas is in a death spiral. Texas is in an absolute death spiral. And they know it. They need annexation, but Americans are afraid to touch it because it's so divisive in both parties. So we have Tyler Furious. Remember, he was kicked out of the Whigs and the Democrats won't take him. He wants revenge. Nobody likes him. He actually would love to become president. He thought on his own merit, be elected on his own, not as vice president. That's what he's really hoping for, but that's obviously going to be impossible. So, push the U.S. to annex. And he's desperate. He's got to do something radical. What was the treaty that the United States signed with Britain that seemed to alleviate tensions? What was the treaty? In fact, Daniel Webster would sign it just before he resigned. What was it called? Yeah, Webster-Ashburton Treaty. And even though they had better relations with Britain, technically, there's still a lot of animosity against the British. Come back to that. Here's Tyler wanting revenge. So what does he do? Webster resigns. He needs a new Secretary of State. We're going into at the end of 1842 into 1843. He picks up Virginia to be a Secretary of State, an up-and-coming politician by the name of Abel Upshur, which, by the way, is kind of an awesome name. Abel Upshur. And Upshur was a protege of an attitude to try to, an idea, to try to find an issue, a wedge issue, that would split the parties apart, to split them apart. Why? Because he wanted to unify the South to protect slavery. What politician was he protege? Did you hear that? Did everyone hear that? Did you hear that? It's Calhoun. Oh, I'll save it when you're not ready. It's more fun that way. So it's Calhoun, and therefore it could hurt both Whigs and Democrats, and to make a Southern party to defend slavery. He's already tried many other ways. Calhoun's back in the Senate. He's a member of no party either. Northern Democrats and Northern Whigs despise him. Many Southern Democrats hate him too. So Calhoun is this incredibly divisive character. That's his protege. So he starts trying to intrigue to get Texas, just at the time where Houston makes an amazing gamble, an incredibly risky bet back to Houston. He begins to talk to Britain about coming under the umbrella of the British Empire, technically independent, but a protectorate of the British Empire, which everybody kind of knows, if you're a protectorate, they're eventually going to take you over. I'll give you an example. For a place that would be safe for whaling vessels for a while, Hawaii became a protectorate of the US. And you can probably see what's going to happen down the road.
What the
Well,
Virgin Islands?
We'll get to it.
What the Virgin Islands?
That, it depends which part, but that's either Dutch or US. But now they're technically protectorates, you're right. So, here's the thing, I didn't type this down, so please add this. Britain was anti-slavery. Britain was intensely anti-slavery. They banned slavery in their own empire, and the Royal Navy actually patrolled the Atlantic looking for slave ships. They would stop and arrest the people who were slavers. And so the Royal Navy and Britain was radically anti-slave compared to the United States and many other countries. Now, I got to be clear, areas under the British Empire, especially a little bit later on in Asia or Africa or India at that moment, the people there they did not treat well, but they didn't call them slaves. And so Sam Houston going there said, we'll become a protectorate. The reason why he didn't want Mexico to take it, I think I mentioned that yesterday, the fear of Mexico. I'll become a protectorate. And Texas would agree to get rid of slavery, therefore become a free country. So, a free country of Texas right here. And remember, if you see that map over there in purple, or this area right here, if you take the whole Texas claim, that's massive amount of area. A protectorate now. And they sent it to Britain. Lord Ashburton, the foreign minister, got this, and Ashburton responded back to Texas with a kind of squishy, didn't really understand. You know, the British were actually shocked by this. This blew them away, but they also knew how angry the United States would make. So it made a very diplomatic message of kind of, well, maybe we'll, but of course, Sam Houston got this and made sure U.S. newspapers. All of a sudden, everybody was mad at Britain again, even though they just signed a treaty a year and a half ago. And they only described it, but here was one of the proposals for a new flag of Texas. So the flag of Texas, single star, Lone Star Republic, then red, white, red stripes. Change that with a Union Jack. They didn't actually make one, but that was a proposal, and I thought that was kind of cool that someone made it. It's one of the great what ifs. Who knows? And Sam Houston was a slave. He had slaves. But it was more important for him to make sure Mexico did not come back in, and he was willing to get rid of slavery. He is an interesting man. So, this is going on. Hey, what's the reaction of Southern congressmen and the South to this? Theory is not strong enough. They went nuts and immediately threatened secession. Remember, nullification was just 10 years earlier. Now 11. This is going into 1844. And they're already threatened civil war. Why? Well, part of it, remember diffusion? It's Southerners want diffusion. And this stops it. They want to spread out slavery. So there are more slave states, more pro-slavery senators. And look what happens. Now, a Republic of Texas, protected by Britain, and Britain was a significantly stronger country than the United States at that time. Indian territory that was given to the various tribes by the Indian Removal Act of 1830, and then that's the border of the United States. And remember the Missouri Compromise, Maine free, Missouri slave, and all the area of the Louisiana Purchase north of, what's this line again? Do you remember the latitude line? 3630. Where's the South gonna go if they want more slave states?
Down.
Okay, Florida will come, and then what? I mean, they feel really isolated. Remember the issue of diffusion. They said if you don't spread out slavery, you'll concentrate the number of enslaved people in these southern states, risking what? The fear of slave rebellion. So they said, you're gonna condemn us for slave rebellion, but there's more. Now, Texas is free, and this is downriver. All these slave labor camps, those plantations are popping up. Would it be easy for enslaved people to run away for freedom, jump right over to Texas, and now be protected by Britain? They called it a safety valve. Free Texas would be a safety valve, which is part of the reason why Andrew Jackson, way back in 1819, invaded Florida. A safety. Now, that's not all. So not only we get all these people running away to freedom, it's a long ways to get up to free states where they might be protected, which means like up here or into Canada. That's a long ways. Not so much here. In part B, what else can they do? If Britain is anti-slavery, couldn't they arm the former slaves and use that as a base to raid inside the South and trigger more slave rebellions? Now, this is patently ridiculous, was not British policy. But remember, they did arm slaves and promise freedom during the War of 1812 and the Revolutionary War. So there's elements of truth. This is a conspiracy theory that they planned this crime. And so basically the South is saying you're going to destroy us economically, and then cut our throats in the middle of the night. We will secede if we don't get Texas. And secession meant civil war. So they went nuclear right away. We're going to blow the whole thing up unless you do what we want. I should have said eventually the North is going to get tired of the Southern vote. They're going to get tired of it. We'll be wide awake to it. Lincoln. So, and then Able Upshur blew up. A 20 or a 40-pound parrot blew up. And therefore they need a new Secretary of State. So, parrots blow up all the time. And so they got to find a new Secretary of State. Have you guys ever taken like a science class? Don't you talk about parrots blowing up? Throw up my hands. Okay. He's not gonna help me with parrots. That's true. A 40-pound parrot blew. Anybody know what a 40-pound parrot is? The name for a rifled cannon at that time was called rifled barrels. If you a little more accurate, spin the cannonball was called a parrot. And a 40-pound parrot was going to be a cannon on board a ship. But it's a 40-pound cannonball is not that big. So it'd be a massive cannon. So they needed a lot of gunpowder. It's really hard to cast iron that way without having some weaknesses. And the cannon had some weaknesses. It was going to be on board a ship, and they were testing it on the Potomac. And here's a picture of it. Upshur was sitting behind the cannon, and it was supposed to go that way. Instead, the back went this way. And he was sitting really close, which had to be so loud. And look at this. A 40-pound parrot. Anybody want to guess what the nickname for this cannon was? The Peacemaker. Now we need a new Secretary of State. They need a new Secretary of State. And so, everyone got that? Upshur died. Okay. So, the new Secretary of State would be John C. Calhoun. Did I tell you about a potential for a dress up? Did I tell you about that? I did, didn't I? I don't know if I'm going to do it, but enough people want to do it the week before the break, Christmas break. On the Wednesday or Thursday, we would do a dress up day for extra credit. And I'll give you a lot of credit if you dress up. Now, the number of people you can dress up is limited, and you're going to say it's unfair, but I do it partially because of my own personal amusement. You're just going to have to get used to that. And so, one of them will be, and you can start growing the neck hair right now. I didn't grow that hair. Okay, the new Secretary of State. Now, Calhoun had already tried the gag rule, which I mentioned once before in class, to try to unify the South, no talking about slavery in the Congress. It'd been going on for a decade, but that was not the issue that divided most people. That didn't work. So we needed something else, and then Upsher's untimely death fit perfect. Now we could turn this all into slavery. So he would write a letter to the British ambassador to the United States, Lord Pakenham, called the Pakenham Letter. And he talked about Texas. You know, it's in America. This is in the American sphere of influence. Britain cannot basically take over or make a new part of their empire so close to the United States. And does anybody remember the doctrine that came out in 1823 that said no European intervention in the Western Hemisphere? Say it again. The Monroe Doctrine. If you did not remember it, jot that down again, because we have to come back to it. It's a really big deal at the end of the century. The Monroe Doctrine. No European intervention. So no more new European colonies. Now the US really could enforce it, yeah. But that's what Calhoun said. No, the Monroe Doctrine, you got it. Then he turned around and said, it's more than just Texas. He's coming to the Union as a slave state. And Britain is anti-slavery, and that is anti-civilization. Slavery is a good thing, and slavery must be spread. So he tied it to slavery. Now, I gotta be clear about this. Slavery is a good thing. Slavery is civilizing. Slavery is natural. And Britain is going against nature by being opposed to slavery. So it is important for American civilization to spread with slavery to the West, not just Texas, the West. That fits with the fusion, doesn't it? And slavery is, you eventually come up with the name. It's not bad. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It is not evil. It is a positive good. Thus, the positive good theory of slavery. Originated just called the defense of slavery. He would rewrite this 2 years later, and this is going to become the most important ideology of the South. We'll read a little bit of this next week. But he basically said that slavery is better than the system in the North or Britain. Industrialization, factory workers. Slavery is better than the South. Chattel slavery. Now, he didn't just send this to Pakenham. He also issued it to newspapers. So, of course, the US this became a massive issue. And Britain's like, how do we get in the middle of this? A massive issue inside the United States. And his plan was to be so divisive, it would create that party and get Tyler the presidency. It was decisive, but Tyler, no way he was going to run. No way Tyler would go. No way. But it's going in 1844. What happens every 4 years? The presidential election of 1844. So that's now what everybody can talk about. Calhoun, and remember, Calhoun already laid out the ordinance of nullification. And remember that about secession and nearly went to civil war because of him. Everyone knows it. I should add, Calhoun doesn't want civil war, but he thinks this is the only way to prevent civil war, is to spread slavery. So, election of 1840 then became a really important election. What kind of country we're going to be? What kind of country? That northern capital, more we'll call capitalism, industrialization, or the southern plantation and chattel slavery? What kind of country? And do you remember the name I gave you? That people who feared capitalism would call workers stuck in that system. Wage slaves. Yeah, wage slaves. And that's what Calhoun said. You're creating nothing but wage slaves. And chattel slaves are treated better than industrial workers. Positive, good theory. But it doesn't matter for states because their state constitution was written. We get to the key issue. What's going to go west? Slave codes? No slave codes. What's going west? And once again, that's the issue of civil war. So, the Democrats are going to have their convention. Philadelphia, Democrats are going to meet. and they got to pick a presidential nominee. That's how they did it back then until 1968 at a convention. And Martin Van Buren looked like he would get it again. He wanted it. I can win this time against John Tyler, whoever the Whigs pick. Not sure who the Whigs going to come up with. But Southern Democrats thought he was a Trojan horse. Do you know the story of the Trojan horse? Do you know the story? Siege of Troy. And Greeks from across the Aegean hid into the gift of the Trojan horse to break the siege of Troy, which there were Greeks too. They were all Greeks in modern day Turkey. Yes. They thought he was a Trojan horse, as in a way to sneak in someone who's against slavery. But don't put against slavery. The term would be free soil. Martin Van Buren, they believed, was somebody who didn't want to spread slavery in the territories, and that was called free soil. Free soil, no slavery in the territories. Now, these are going to be states. It's too late for that. So we're talking about territory. That's why Texas was such a big deal. Territories. Now, Southern Democrats had already put in 8 years earlier, the first convention, a poison pill that required 2/3 of the delegates to get the nomination. So basically, the South had a veto in the Democratic Party all the way until 1932. Some of you might know the president. They tried to stop. Southerners tried to stop in 1932. Southern Democrats. His name was Franklin Roosevelt. So that's coming down the road. So Van Buren got over 50%, but not 2/3. Had to vote again. Didn't get over 50%. Lost a few votes. And they realized he's not going to get it. And all of a sudden, all these other names came in, and they did vote after vote after vote. It's called the Hung Convention. They did over 100 votes. They couldn't pick anybody. Everybody was too controversial. Southerners vetoed them. Northerners vetoed them. Didn't vote for them. Who did they pick? Now, does anybody know in a horse race, a horse with long odds, meaning nobody expected to win? So an unknown horse who won, and you can win a lot of money off. Anybody know that term in horse racing? Horse racing was huge in the 1830s, 1840s. Anyone heard of that term? Anyone? Huh? Underdog. It's similar, but not quite specific to horse racing. Well, no? I heard some people like, but no one really wants to say it. A dark horse. Meaning coming out of the shadows, no one expected, they couldn't see any horse. Dark horse. And that's a candidate who no one knows. What's the advantage of a candidate that no one knows? You can create their own image. You can create it from scratch. And people have been around a long time, they have a long reputation. Like Martin Van Buren. Dark horse gives you the chance to create that image like, well, look what happened to William Henry Harrison. A lot of American presidents have been dark horses. One of the best example, the most famous and most important, is Abraham Lincoln. He was basically unknown outside of a small circle. So they could create this image. Navy hated, but honest hated. Working, born in the log cabin, which he was, but come from the ground up. A few more like James Garfield. Woodrow Wilson was kind of a dark. In my lifetime, Jimmy Carter in 1976. Dark horse, don't know who he was. Barack Obama was a dark horse. He only served 2 years in the Senate. So they basically could come up with their own creation of him. And it was obviously very successful. And he was a very talented politician. Donald Trump was a dark horse. He was not in politics at all. In fact, he had no real political opinion that anyone could figure out. Because he was kind of all over the place. Because he really wasn't. He did it mostly for business purposes, his political points of view, so they could create it. See the advantage of a dark horse? Don't have any background. There were no votes they made, so it would be controversial. So back to this. Who'd be the dark horse? Who had the nickname Old Hickory? I've told you this once before. The most important Democratic politician, Andrew Jackson. A protege of his from Tennessee named James Knox. His nickname, Young Hickory. Fierce politician. He had been Speaker of the House, Governor of Tennessee, known for uncompromising, great orator. They called him Napoleon of the stump. A stump speech is you get higher up than everyone so they can see you, like stand on a tree stump. And he was known as unsmiling, uncompromising, but outside of a few in the House and Tennessee, they didn't know him. But he's young Hickory, so he kind of remembering Andrew Jackson and his popularity. His running mate would be George Dallas. Gee, I wonder what's named after him. Okay, Georgetown. Georgetown. Dallas, Texas, yes, would be named after the vice president when it comes into the Union. And slogan, we need a slogan, and it was very clever. 54-40, or and it's all manifest destiny. Expansion westward. 54-40 was the northern border of the contested Oregon Territory with Britain. And he's saying, we'll fight Britain for it to get the whole thing. And people are now a lot of animosity again because of Sam Houston's trips. Also, we'll get California. More citizens of the US are going in there, we'll get all of California. Manifest destiny, expansion westward. Oh yeah, and then we'll just happen to get Texas. That was his way to avoid the issue of Texas and focus on expansion and Oregon, which was not as controversial, especially for Northerners, because they knew it probably would not be good territory for the slave camps, plantations. So that's his plan. He didn't want war. Once again, Britain's like, what the heck? And there would be a battle fought here anyways on the San Juan Islands between British and American settlers called the Pig War. A British pig, British-owned pig, straight on to an American settler's land, and the American settlers shot it. And next thing you know, they're shooting at each other and look like it might go to full-scale war. The Pig War. So the point is, there's a lot of animosity, and he played it on tough and tried to avoid the big issue. Well, for the Whigs, Henry Clay is back. The third official, fourth, he tried to become president. And it's my turn, but he has a long record. Oh, let me go back. See that picture? Okay, they say Polk never smiled. So that's his smile, but nobody smiled in photographs back then. First off, that just wasn't the style. But secondly, anybody know why they didn't smile? Yeah. Huh? No. They had such long exposure times that they had to stay still or be blurry. So they would try to find the most generic pose possible and just like that. That's why everyone looks like they have some kind of intestinal disorder. They take pictures like they're in pain. And that's what he looked like. So we'll have more pictures down the road. That's Clay's resting place. He always had that little smile. That little grin. Which is actually really hard to do. Try to grin with the rest of your face smiling. Because when you smile, that's part of the thing. So many muscles are used. Use everything, right? But you just try to smile without moving your eyes. It's hard to do. So that was his resting face. You know what I mean when you smile, kind of your eye, your eyes squint a little bit. Do that without squinting your eyes. Smile. They squint it. It's really hard to do. We will come back to that face. So, American system is back. But sorry, did I do the story back? Give me a second. Texas. What was his position on Texas, though? And the American system had a lot of enemies. Remember the tariffs, bus. He basically said, "We'll annex Texas if Mexico allows it." Mexico's never going to agree to it. He would make no firm decision on Oregon either. And so by trying not to offend anybody, nobody was happy with Clay's position. So Clay had trouble there. He just assumed, though, it's my time. I deserve to be president. Don't you know who I am? The great compromiser. And you could dress up like Henry Clay. They tried to do a number of rallies and tried to do the same thing that worked so well in 1840. And so one of the big things was to dress up in these red and white outfits and dress up as these Henry Clay figures. Now, for dress up day years ago, I've had people do this. So they, a couple of them gave me their costume and that was their dress up day. So they took this kind of thing that, so actually it's Mr. Carter's niece who did this. Her dad painted in this, so it's kind of has some say to that. But pretty good, isn't it? Another one did it, and I didn't say this one because it made me laugh so much. Right? It's pretty good, huh? Look at the picture. See the picture? Pretty accurate representation, isn't it? Okay, that was pretty funny. That was a good costume. I enjoyed that. It reminds me of basketball warm-ups. Reminds me of University of Indiana. So, but a third party jumped into the race. Now, they tried in 1840, and it was a tiny party. Remember, third parties do not do well in a winner take all. They just don't do it. They can't have it. But this is an abolitionist party. James Burney would run. It's only basically in New England. But the thing was, there are more abolitionists because of the Texas issue. And the thing is, this is where you got to put down. They might become spoilers. You probably heard the term spoiler before. They're going to take away votes. And the Whigs are terrified. They're going to take votes away from them and make sure that Polk will be elected president. Third parties generally are spoilers. It's happened a lot. With the 1912, 1968, 2000, spoilers. Third party jumper. So, three parties. And this campaign was pretty, it was all about Texas, even though they both tried to avoid it. Texas was everything. Texas, Texas, Texas. What's your position? And here's the presidential ticket going to Polk. And the Salt River, okay, Salt River is a small little river here. Salt River. But they took a reference of this, meaning if you cross the Salt River, that meant that you can't go back. The Salt River is a big step politically. You cross it and you're there. There's no going back. You can't backtrack. You can't go back. This is a big decision. And this comes from the fall of the Roman Republic. I know all of you are mostly Roman students of Roman history, right? That's kind of most of you. So this would be on the test, of course, crossing the Rubicon. That's where it gets its reference. Now, Josh should know this. Do you remember this? Because you told me you knew this yesterday. Did I make that up? That's why when I met Thomas Jefferson. So, do you remember that?
Yeah, well, now I got it.
So, I'll tell you what happened very quickly. Near the end of the Roman Republic, Julius Caesar said that the government power, the Republic was falling apart. He's coming from what is now France and marching toward Rome. And if the generals cannot bring their legion into area around Rome, you do that, that means you have committed treason, aka the Civil War. And the northern border of Rome was a river called the Rubicon. And if Caesar crosses that, that means civil war. And Caesar crossed it. And that would be the end of the Roman Republic. Eventually, after Caesar was murdered, it would become the Roman Empire, Augustus, etc. The Salt River was not like that. You cross that, you can't go back. So that was like the barrier. Do you make it over the salt? So here they are, they're trying to make it over the salt to the victory in Texas. But the Clay, Freething, Hoyser are trying to hold them back. You notice they're tumbling in the water. Remember the other thing I told you about, all the hot air balloons? So here's another one with hot air balloons. This is a Whig cartoon. 2 hot air balloons going up to the presidential chair. And there's Clay popping the Democratic balloon. And they're going to crash into the Salt Lake and not make a Salt River. And already drowning in the Salt River, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren. One more, my personal favorite. This is a Whig cartoon, and it's showing this kind of surreal image of a beast, and that's supposed to be Polk. And I know it's supposed to be riding the beast, but it looks like he's impaled into the neck. And it says that. The beast is Texas. And it's talking about Polk's support of Texas annexation, even though that was kind of hidden. and it's Polk meaning I can't go back. Texas will get me. That picture just kind of makes me laugh. But there's one more thing of the beast. This is 1844. So I don't know the exact dates all of you were born, but I'm guessing most of you were born after the Civil War. And me too. You weren't? Yeah. I want to act like I was born before the Civil War. I can't help it. I looked at this face, the very first time I looked at this cartoon, I thought of one person. Does that kind of vaguely look like Abraham Lincoln when he was president? Yeah, I immediately saw that. No one knew who Abraham Lincoln was outside of Springfield, Illinois in 1844, and he didn't have a beard. But I just like Abraham Lincoln. It's just funny how it just got ingrained that way. Did it work for the Whigs? Nope. Polk won a national victory. And think about it, just 4 years earlier, Harrison won a big victory. Now the Democrats won a big victory. And the Whigs playing the Liberty Party, even though almost certainly the Liberty Party took votes from both parties. Almost certainly. But look at me. New York went for Harrison. Pennsylvania went for Harrison. This time they went for Polk. Oh, and then one of the great ironies of ironies. Polk's home state went for Clay. But Polk became president. Now, presidents are inaugurated March 3rd, the year after the election. So March 3rd, 1845. Everyone knew the outcome of the election about the second week of November. So we got November till March until Polk was president. Who's still president? Who's president? Who? Someone said who? John Tyler. What you said? Yeah. John Tyler. John Tyler. He's still president. We call that person in office, I told you this name before, a lame duck. Tyler was the lame duck. He's in office. He's going to leave office soon, but he's still president. Congress, though, is like, let's get our man Polk, Texas. Let's pass a bill to get Texas into the Union. And it'll be on the desk for Polk once he's inaugurated. And that will be our big victory. We brought in Texas. Right when Polk literally swear it off, give his speech. He gave a very short speech. Harrison gave the long one and passed away. Did I tell you what the ZZ died of? Syphilis. No, Polk. Did I not tell you? Oh, Polk died of cholera. It was cholera. Bad water. Fecal matter in the water. That's how it's spread. Oh yeah, it's bad as that, not having clean water. 3 presidents died. 3 presidents. So, the problem is this. Remember Thomas Jefferson? What purchase did he bring in with a treaty, even though it's not in the Constitution? Remember? What's that? Louisiana, yeah. I heard a few people whisper Louisiana. Needed 2/3 for a treaty. There weren't 2/3. You couldn't get 2/3. Now, Jefferson just did the treaty. No, I would just do a treaty. Well, not going to work. So they said, why do we need a treaty? It doesn't say in the Constitution. Let's just pass a law saying we're going to annex Texas. The law they passed is called a joint resolution of the House and the Senate. And they agreed they would annex Texas. So they annexed Texas for Polk. So the idea was when Polk came in to become president, he would sign it. Boom, there we go. They passed it at the last week of February, a week before the inauguration. And they assumed Tyler would have the good graces to not sign it. But he's president, and he's still angry. And so he signed it. President Tyler signed the bill. And to his point of view, he got the last laugh. He punished Northern Whigs, and he punished the Democrats. I'm the one, he could think, who brought in Texas. The last laugh. Ha ha. That bill has an interesting component to it. So this is going to be Texas, but it will eventually, the border will come out of 1850. And Really good map. That's before the Civil War. Once again, great map makers. Let's see where we remember. What is the fierce tribe of the Southern Plains that control this area right here? Yeah, that's the Comanches. Well, in the Texas Constitution, because it's unclear if you could have a state this massive. So write this last part down. Texas, if they want, can break up into 5 states. If the Texas legislature up to 5 states. So Texas can divide up to 5 new states if their state assembly votes for it. And that is still the law today. They can divide.
Change their power in electoral college.
Oh, yeah, because it would divide, so the Texas would lose, they'd still have 2 senators, but they would lose electoral votes and members of the House, yeah. But you'd also get more senators that might be outlawed. Texas has talked about this a few times. Can anyone guess what era that Texas, the last time Texas seriously talked about dividing up into more states? It was during the Cold War, but there was also a fight for something going on at the same time. To stop the civil rights movement, the fight for equal rights, they talked about dividing up into more states. So there'd be more senators for segregation. They talked about it, but it didn't happen. The law we'll get to, it's called Jim Crow law. Some of you might have heard of that. So back to this. Everyone's mad at Tyler, except for Tyler, who was pretty good about himself. Tyler would eventually become a member of Congress in the Confederacy. That's coming down the road. And so, yeah. So don't forget, when Polk becomes president, Texas is already in the union. Texas is already in. Now let me get to one more thing. Right after the inauguration, something happened that shocked people. The last American president, the last living American president who became president or was born not a citizen of the United States, passed away. Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was born before there was a United States. He was a citizen of Britain. And then once the U.S. was formed, he became a citizen of the U.S. The last one. He died. He was very ill. He couldn't eat. He was in so much pain from that old bullet wound that all he could do is basically they had this kind of gruel they would feed him and whiskey. But the whiskey was painful. It was a painkiller. That's what it was. Not a very good painkiller. So he was still ornery, still very much involved, wanting to annex Texas. He was very involved politically. And I'll show you one more thing. The year before he died, that's the only photograph of him. He's getting up there, isn't he? That's 1844. And he was asked by an associate right before he passed away. Like, do you have any regrets? Anyone guess?
No.
Yeah, 2 regrets. Yeah, 2 regrets. Those were his only 2 regrets. And it's beautiful. Thousands came. It was a big deal. I mean, Andrew Jackson was a titan. And good and bad, we can find all kinds of stuff about him. But this was big. Moving on to the America, this was a moment. Andrew Jackson died. He was born before the Revolutionary War, and we have a totally different world when he died. This is an important figure. And everybody came, including they even brought Jackson's parrot. Real parrot. Real parrot. Did I tell you about the parrot? I didn't tell you about the parrot. Do you want to hear about the parrot? Andrew Jackson had a parrot that he loved. And by the way, parrots can live for like 40 years. Some will live as long as 60 or 70. That's true. That is very true. I know you don't trust me. I'll tell you, I got the parrot joke on. But he taught the parrot to talk. Parrots are very intelligent, great they can mimic any language. And so he taught the parrot to speak. Anybody want to guess what words he taught the parrot?
Swear words.
Every curse word he did. And the idea would be there'd be a trigger word. He would say it, and the parrot would start screaming out obscenities. And he would do it as president when he wanted to get someone out of his office. He would say the word and the parrot would start screaming until they left. So when Jackson died, they brought the parrot to the funeral because they thought they would want his beloved parrot because he would spend the rest of his life teaching them more unique swear words. And so they brought the parrot and they had, a cover over a birdcage called a hood. So it was hooded. And it was by It was near the front where they had paintings and pictures of them and candles. Not the body, this is spring embalming. And embalming would come from the Civil War. But Thomas R. Beck, senator from Missouri, was giving the eulogy, and someone decided, well, we should see the parrot. So they lifted up the hood for the parrot. Just at that moment that Benton said the word unknowingly that would trigger the parrot. And the parrot just started screaming obscenities at Jackson's funeral, and they couldn't shut it up. They put the hood on, and it just kept yelling and yelling and yelling, and the funeral kind of dissolved. And my guess is Jackson probably would have appreciated that. All right, Huh?
Is it a red parrot or?
that one I'm not sure.
I have two blue parrots in my car.
Why do you keep parrots in a car?
They
The
hang.
poor little things.
Little thing, like little like,
Is it Norwegian?
little, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
macaw.
Norwegian blue.
It's a macaw.
Norwegian blue. Norwegian blue. It's a macaw. They're red. They're red and green. You know, I don't know. I've seen, I've seen, like drawings of it. I've seen it green. It's red. Yeah.
Forget what they.
Oh my goodness, I forgot what day it was. Oh my. I did it for every class. Everybody, what day is it today? It's Flamingo Friday. Drum roll, please. Drum roll. Come on, give it up. Drum roll. God, I cannot believe I did this. Yes, come on, give it up. It's late. Revelation hour. Hey, by the way, catch the rug. What does the rug do? It ties the room together. Look. Guessing in the light of the flamingo. I'm gonna let you go. Goodbye, Levi, thank you. That was close.
No.
You guys would have gone all weekend. It would have been like a hole in your heart that you could not fill. No.
They're blue parrots with yellow bellies,
Are they?
and they're matching. They make us fill into my box.
I like parrots.
I love my parrots. Only plug in or.
Get to it. Have a good weekend, everybody. Good weekend. Thank you. Huh?
Looks like white.
It kind of does. Doesn't it have little beach, sailboats, could be Hawaii or the Caribbean. Who knows? Either one would be perfectly nice right now. Either one would be very nice right now. We can make on Friday to you. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. Something that didn't happen. Oh, oh,
Stay and something. J6. J6 hard. I think that's. Seven cuts. Obviously, now we're seriously on that. That's we find it.